Good morning everyone, this is Professor Choi. I wanted to give you a quick overview of my macroeconomics class at Palm Beach State College, now utilizing Hubbard, MyLab, and Canvas. Before that though, thank you for registering yourself for my class, and thank you for joining me in this particular semester. So this is ECO 2013, Macroeconomics. We're going to be using a book by Hubbard. We're going to be using MyLab for your homework and your quizzes and your tests. And we're going to be using Canvas to basically put it all together as a learning management system. My name is Rene Choi, and my email is choir@palmbeachstate.edu or pbsc.edu. All the information that you need for the class is going to be on Canvas. So look for it on the module list that you normally see on Canvas. I teach this particular class in 4 different modalities. The modality normally is something that will be explained to you while you register for the class, but I want to quickly tell you about how they work in case you're not familiar. Now if you're fully online, this is usually an asynchronous class, so basically we don't have to meet at any point in time. I set up the class to be fully online. Normally, in my particular case, the way it normally works is you basically have a lot of modules you need to do throughout the semester, and you just have to pace yourself as you're doing the modules. Every module is self-explanatory, has an explanation on each module, and then your job is to basically complete every module in order all the way down to the end of the semester. If your class is live online, it is similar to the previous one, except that there's going to be some kind of online class where you have a Zoom meeting at a particular day and a particular time. If your class is blended or like in between, then what it normally means is that there's going to be some kind of face-to-face class where you have to go to a room and see me for lectures, and then there's going to be work that's going to be online. And if your class is fully face-to-face, it basically means that you're going to see me pretty much regularly face-to-face, and we're going to be talking in a particular class at the school. All of my classes have a document called a must-read syllabus that I usually post in one of the modules. The module is usually called Syllabus and Important Files. So right at the beginning of the semester, after you watch this video, the first thing you need to do is you basically got to look for that particular document and read it. It has major deadlines that you have to be familiar with, and they're usually very useful for you to work on that right at the beginning of the semester. The modules need to be done in order. Usually that will be more helpful because some of the material kind of builds on top of each other. So it will be better for you to basically do every module in order. You don't want to skip modules. Now in terms of major assignments, all this stuff is explained on the syllabus, but just in case, my class usually have 4 tests, of which I drop the lowest score. So in a nutshell, you have 4 different tests to take, and then eventually I drop whichever one's the lowest of those 4 tests. I also have 3 current event articles. These current event articles are basically an article you have to read, and then eventually you got to send me a summary analysis of that particular article. The article will be on the modules in one of them, and then the submission for that will be in the modules as well. Minimum requirements are posted on the syllabus. There's also going to be discussion board postings. Discussion board postings are basically the way I keep track of attendance. You're expected to be basically walking yourself through the module, and when you do that, there'll be a discussion board posting to let me know that you're attending and participating in the class. By the way, right at the beginning of the semester, you want to be completing the first discussion board post, and that's just to let me know that you're actually following my instructions. There's going to be also 1 homework per chapter. At this point, you need to also be keeping track when you're working that there's a difference between like chapters and modules. So the modules are basically in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but then the chapter that's going to be covered on the module depending on which chapter I want to cover in the book. And some modules have more than 1 chapter. So there's going to be at least 1 homework per chapter, and then eventually there's going to be quizzes to make sure that you are in good shape for those particular homeworks. These assignments usually only have 4 attempts, of which I keep the highest score. So you're expected to basically attempt it multiple times if you don't feel comfortable with your first grade, and then I normally keep the highest score of the 4 attempts. Exams are not like that. Exams are usually only 1 attempt each. The weight for each assignment is explained in the syllabus. Again, you have to, the must-read syllabus document, that's where the weights are basically explained. Now I want to give you a quick overview of basically how I set up the class. So I created basically a set of modules, which is basically a sort of like learning group of things that kind of come together. There's going to be a set of modules. Those have videos for you to basically learn the material. They have PowerPoints for you to learn the material. They have also the book that you can basically read to learn the material. And then once you go through all of those by taking notes and then reviewing, then there's going to be a homework for basically every module, a discussion board for every module, and then current events for every set of modules. There's going to be a deadline, usually about a month in, depending on which class you're in. So if you're taking a 6 weeks, it will be every 2 weeks. If you're taking a 12-week, it would normally be every 3 to 4 weeks. And if you're taking the regular semester, that will be basically every month. But you have to keep track of these due dates. Again, they're listed on the must-read syllabus. So eventually there's a set of modules, and then there's a due date where all this stuff becomes due. At that point in time, there'll be a quiz 1 that is going to be due, and there's also a test 1 that is going to be due. Tests are only open for 2 days. All the other assignments are open from the beginning of the semester. So you're not expected to basically be waiting until the end to do them. The whole idea is you should be working on all of this from the beginning of the semester, and then eventually you got to take your tests on test days. Alright, so this is the deadline basically for all the assignments that are on this group of stuff. Eventually we get through that test, and then there's going to be a similar behavior after that. So we're going to have a set of modules, and then we're going to have at the end of that set of modules a due date with a quiz and a test, and then we do it again. So we have another set of modules, each one of them with a homework, each one of them with a discussion board posting, then a current event, and then at the end of that there'll be another quiz and another test. The end of the semester is somewhere on here. Usually most of the assignments close up on this particular day, so I don't accept anything after the due date for usually test 3. And then the only assignment after that is basically your test 4. Remember, test 4 will be optional in the sense that if you already like your test 1, 2, and 3 grade, you don't really have to take test 4, so that one is for anybody who needs to drop a lower score. Remember to learn the material by watching all my videos. Take a lot of notes, read the PowerPoints, read the chapter on the ebook if you want to learn more. And that's basically a quick overview of how my class works. Again, thank you very much for joining me, and this is Professor Choi. Have a good one.